Summertime is supposed to be a time of fun and vacations and relaxation for kids. But if you have custody disputes and you share custody with the child's other parent, it can quickly become a time of stress and disputes. So stay tuned to this video because we are going to talk about how you can plan ahead and avoid some common mistakes and some tips for you to have a very good child-focused summer. The first thing you should do is know what your current custody agreement or plan says. You can encounter custody disputes if you don't realize when does the school year actually end? When does your time with your child begin or end for the summer? If you haven't planned ahead and given certain notices, sometimes it's a matter of needing to plan which weeks in the summer are going to be your parenting time, and it's just giving notice to the other parent. Sometimes it's a step further and it's coming to an agreement on which weeks or months the child is going to be with each parent. And sometimes it goes even further, like if you need passports to be signed off by the other parent, where you need signatures, and those things can take time. So you can end up having disputes because you don't realize that the family reunion that is for your extended family ends up being scheduled on a weekend that was with the other parent, or if a camp that you wanted the kid to go to is on the other parent's time. Sometimes it's a matter of getting the right notice or permission or even signatures. And sometimes it's a matter of figuring out who's going to pay for these things. Is it that each parent pays for their own camps? Is it that the child's going to the same daycare provider or babysitter and each parent is going to pay for their weeks? Or is it a matter of the travel costs? If parents live in two different states and the children are too old to fly by themselves and a parent is accompanying them on flights, does the cost sharing include the cost of the parent who's escorting the children? Or is it one parent who lives away from the kid's home state that's paying for both ways? You need to figure these things out. And the way you do that is starting by what does your agreement or your parenting plan actually say? So going into the summer, it is best to start actually way before summer starts. Where I live and where my kids go to school and have summer, signups for summer camps can start as early February. So make sure that you know when you need to have your kids sign up for camps, when you need to know if your agreement says you have to give notice to the other parent that you're choosing your weeks in August by April 1st, then make sure you don't miss that deadline. So make sure you are planning ahead by looking at the schedule, by starting early. You don't want to be in June figuring out that you can't come to an agreement and trying to get into the courts for the summer because it's not likely going to happen that late in the game. So definitely plan early, review your agreement or your plan often. Another tip is that you should put everything in writing. Now, you don't necessarily have to sign a formal paper document with notarized signatures every time you make modifications, but text and email often counts as sufficient writing when you have an agreement. So if your parenting plan says that you can make certain modifications and you have spoken to the other parent early and they've agreed, oh yes, you guys are going to go to Disney on this week, that works out, we'll just trade weeks. Make sure you get that in a text, not just a phone conversation that you have. If you don't have it in text, then send an email. Hey, we discussed this, just confirming this is what we agreed to. You just want to dot your I's, cross your T's, make sure you have everything in writing so that if you do end up in court over something, you've got those receipts. Now, the last part I try to avoid by planning ahead and by getting things in writing. But if you do end up having to go to court, make sure you do it early. You can't just show up to court and say, I don't like the way my agreement is written, I want to change it. But if it's been 10 years since the court has issued this parenting plan and the kids are now teenagers and they have summer jobs and they've got all these different things going on in their life, then you probably have a material change in circumstances. And that would probably warrant changing the summer plan, the summer parenting plan, so that it suits the child and the family's needs at that time. If it's something where you don't have a material change in circumstances, then you probably need to work out some sort of agreement with the other child's parent. And you can do that in writing and on paper and get those notarized if you want it to be something that's continuing year after year. And if you have a dispute that could go to court, you want to do that early so that you can get that resolved before the summer break begins. So some tips to help you have a great, fun, child-focused summer are keep the child focus top priority. Don't be so focused and so bitter about whatever animosity the parents may still have against each other that you're not willing to be flexible. If the kids want to go and do, a summer camp at the trampoline park and it's only available on the other parent's week, be flexible. The only person that's going to end up being hurt by not being able to go to that camp is the kids. If, like I said, the family reunion falls on the other parent's weekend, be flexible. Trade weeks with the other parent. You give a little, you take a little, and it'll work out. Trust me, from somebody who comes from a blended family, when you can work things out, it is so much easier on those kids. You definitely want to plan ahead. You want to talk to each other. You want to put those kids first. And to some extent, incorporate the children and their desires into it. I'm not saying you're going to be able to go to Chuck E. Cheese every day because your 4-year-old wants to go to Chuck E. Cheese every day. But if you've got a 17-year-old, they've got a job and they've got, a girlfriend or boyfriend and they want to go surfing and they can drive, don't force them to stay at your house and not drive and not work because that's your week. So incorporate the kids if appropriate, work with the other parent, and both of you should be able to have a fun, enjoyable summer. There are silver linings to sharing custody. Kids get 2 birthday parties if their birthdays are in the summer. They get pools at each house. They get cool things and cool people and friends at both places. It can be a great time for the kids. They're out of school, but they're with their summer friends. They're getting to do things they don't get to do during the year. Keep the focus on them so that they can have a great summer with both families and that you can have an enjoyable summer. Summer custody doesn't have to be a legal minefield. With proper planning, good communication, and the right legal guidance and preparation, you can give your kids a summer they'll actually enjoy. If you need help interpreting your current parenting plan or modifying it before the summer starts, reach out to Melone Hatley. We are here to protect your parenting time and your peace of mind.